Hello, IT Nation. Sean Lardo here, the economy evangelist at IT Nation. Thanks for tuning in for another episode as we continue to ramp up for the largest granddaddy event of the year, IT Nation Connect next week. For those that don't know, which I'd be surprised if people don't know it's happening, IT Nation Connect takes place November 6th to the 8th down in Orlando, Florida. It is the biggest event. It's the best way to cap off your year. So, those of you that have not registered so far, we do have a registration code and a link that we'll put in the chat for you all, and you can see it down below. If you actually, my favorite user group, Central Mafia, is able to offer a $250 off all access pass to IT Nation Connect. So you all that want to attend still and still need to register can use that pass, that code, and you'll get $250 off of the registration. Now, let's really get into what we're here to talk about today, though, which is PitchIT. We've been spending the last few weeks revealing who the head coaches were with the finalists, and we're going to have another interview today with the judge or the coach and the participant that made it as a finalist. And this is for the PitchIT competition, which will take place November 6th at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard at IT Nation Connect in Orlando. The agenda is being updated right now on the website to show what room it's in, so everybody knows exactly where to go for this. Now, what's the importance of being involved in launching this? Well, simple. IT Nation is always looking for the best of vendors that support MSPs, and this is no different. Actually, this competition embodies that, and this is a Shark Tank competition, so you get to watch some of your favorite vendors that were, maybe even still are in some cases, MSPs that started becoming a vendor to provide a solution for something they had going wrong. It's the best way to support this community and to be involved, and also shop around for the vendors you want to add to your stack. For vendors watching this and considering joining for next year or applying for next year to try to be considered to be part of the group, if you're a startup company and you're below $2 million and you're not going through any serious funding or anything, and you need a way to get jump started and to learn from the best of the best and to be involved and engaged in a great community, this would be the place you want to do it. I'm excited. Most of the people that are involved that I deal with on a regular basis are ridiculously excited, and I'm looking forward to it. Now, it's enough about me, enough about IT Nation. Let's get on with the interview. Up first, I want to bring up one of last year's finalists and a really good friend of mine. He's from vCIOToolbox, the founder, owner, CEO, father extraordinaire, cigar aficionado guy. He's the guy. Let's bring on Brian Doyle.
Hey, Sean, that's kind words. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
What's up, Brian? You know what?
Man.
It's all truthful what I said.
Well, I appreciate that. It's from the heart. And, how I feel about you and the whole PitchIT program as a whole. This has been a great opportunity for us, great experience for us, and certainly happy to be a part of it again this year.
Absolutely. First, congratulations on last year because, first off, it's a QBR platform to start with, and it's not the sexiest of sexy, right? And so,
I choose a lot of unsexy things as an unsexy guy who looks a little like NASCAR today. Didn't realize I have this many logos working.
I was wondering if you were sponsoring yourself.
Well, half the time I forget to wear a logo, Sean. So this is a big day for me.
So you're overcompensating.
Exactly. As I often do.
So real briefly for the audience, let's give some background on you and what vCIOToolbox really is.
Sure. So, vCIOToolbox was simply built out of a problem that we had to fix when I was an MSP. We were struggling a little bit as we got, midway through our arc with churn, with customers starting to question the value of the bill, and really us being a little bit disengaged with some of our customers. So we built this platform really as a way to improve and foster engagement with your customers, help them remember exactly why you're there and what capabilities you have beyond just the support layer. And really now we're trying to build the next generation of advisors with our MSPs. You mentioned the QBR. Certainly that's the core part of our service, but we're really excited, especially with IT Nation coming up. We're going to be launching some real enhancements to the GRC side of the system and really building a CISO platform that is going to be carrying the MSPs into the future, wrapped around that business review and giving them multiple touch points to really stay engaged with their customers, manage compliance, manage risk, and really drive home that value.
I love that, especially the GRC part, because as you look at the evolution of cybersecurity, we've already established the fact that we know that it went from basic tools to help you protect your mail, basically, to network, to endpoints, to then it became like, hey, what about insurance? Well, how do we even define insurance? Well, you have to have governance and compliances and whatnot in store. And I do appreciate that you talked about making them advisors to the MSP advisors, because I think that's a big miss on a lot of cases.
Well, I think the customers, from the customer's perspective, we are their advisors. They don't delineate between the relationship between the account manager, vCIO, and the VC. So they expect you to be doing it all. And what we really want to do is arm, because we know MSPs are not carrying extra bodies around, right, to fill all these roles. How do we arm those folks that have that business relationship and give them the tools so they can do the things they need to do to help drive compliance, reduce risk, really make sure that they're ready to be cyber insured, all those things short of just full regulatory compliance for those that require it.
Absolutely. You know what? And unfortunately, we could talk about this all day. So we have to bring on your guy now still.
It's all about Daniel today.
You know what? And why don't you introduce Daniel, please?
Sure. So I'm going to be introducing to you all Daniel Ellis from PC Powersave. He's a very nice, subdued Brit who's going to wow you with his vocal skills in a few moments. But quite frankly, he's been a joy to be working with because he's already coached. I just got to help him with some tactical things, and that's about it. He knows what he's doing. He's ready to take on this competition. He is going to be the stealth guy coming out of nowhere and taking down the 70K.
I love that. Yes. What's up, Daniel? Wow, those are big words, dude.
Yeah, I was going to say you don't need me. You just keep talking, Brian. More of this. That was the loveliest introduction I've ever heard,
buddy.
Thank you.
That was stupendous.
Stupendous, fantabulous, absolutely.
That's for you, Daniel. Daniel is the king of great words like that, like literally.
Yep.
So
what I don't tell him is I just make most of them up on the fly.
That's what I think that's most of us. And is that like the flux capacitor on a piece of paper in the back there?
I've had that on my wall for over a year, and you're the first person who's figured out what it is. Yes, it is. That is flux capacitor. Thank you very much.
I was like, is that a wishbone? No, it's a flux capacitor.
That flux capacitor brings us right back to Daniel's brand.
Right, doesn't it though? All right, so let's talk about this, Daniel. Let's give some background on you, man.
Sure. Where do you want? Well, it doesn't matter where you want to start. I'll tell you where we're going to start. A background. So I have been running an MSP for the last 20 years, and I'm gradually working on my retirement, which should, my transition away. It should be done by March. And for the last entirety of my lifetime, I've been a massive nerd when it comes to all things energy and electrical, when it comes to, the power grid. I'm not just an eco nerd. I care about all kinds. I've had a great tour of a fusion reactor a few years ago, an experimental facility down in Oxfordshire. It was brilliant. I'm a big fan of energy, and I wanted to try and find a way of using my energy nerdiness with my IT nerdiness and see if I could bring them together. That's what's brought me to you.
Nice. Well, that's okay. So you also rebranded recently.
Yes.
And you're wearing your shirt, I see there. And what is the logo?
The logo is a very, very cute little ant. It's a little ant carrying a battery, and there's actually a reason for it. It's not just that we wanted something incredibly cute and horrifying green, but the reason was because the way my product works, PC Powersave, is we implement loads and loads of tiny little changes all across the machine. It's a sort of many hands make like work situation. And so what animal in nature is known for that? Ants. Millions of the things make a big impact. And that's what we're all about in energy saving. Lots and lots of tiny impacts on your machine.
So what does your product actually do ultimately?
You want to know that? Oh my.
30 seconds.
Course.
30 seconds.
All right. Computers use electricity. Price of electricity is going up. PC Powersave reduces the amount of electricity your computers use. Or should I say, your clients' computers use, so that you, the MSP, can be the energy-saving hero. Save your customers some money, help them with their green creds, and generate some extra MRR.
Done. That was well put. See, and this is why Brian
much less than 30 seconds.
I know, right? I know, right? That's impressive. And this is why Brian said you're winning.
Yep.
Everything.
Right. Well, Brian's a fantastic teacher.
No, I teach.
And so have you been too, Sean.
I am the bystander in this. I simply MC this. I am the Ryan Seacrest of IT Nation, basically, at this point. So I can't take any credit for any talents at all. So, but let's talk about this, right? So Brian being a finalist last year, he and I had this similar conversation about how he presented, right, and certain pieces to that he should really hone in on that he wasn't, right, and it's a progression. So over the course of and I'll start with you, Brian, real quick. When you went through the program, you're very good at articulating how much it evolved you. So what are some of the just quick takeaways that happened for you in the program?
Yeah, I mean, the great takeaways are, I was never afraid to go out and speak. Those were things I was customarily doing. And a lot of times I felt I could do it off the cuff. And what this program really showed me is you got to do a better job of preparing. So, if you really want to get your message across, you got to get rid of the fat and really trim it down. And that was one of the first things I learned. Second thing I learned is it's all about your timings. Sean, you've heard this story so many times, it's probably going to annoy you to hear it again. But I got dusted in my first event because Tiffany Ricks from Hackware just dropped the mic on 30 seconds with a truly polished pitch. And I couldn't even figure out how to define what I did in 30 seconds. So these were the things that kind of came through the process. The other part is being humble and taking things from all comers and then deciding what you want to implement in. Sean, you brought up a great point that, here I was as a former MSP with 17 years under my belt, and that never came out in my initial pitch. And, we're talking to a community of people that want to know, have you done what I've done? So those were some of the takeaways that I got. There was plenty of other information that people told me that was absolutely beneficial, but didn't fit for the pitch. And that I would, hold back, but I may have brought into other parts of my life.
I like that you bring up the fact of the trim the fat, right, and get to the point, because you kind of hit a point where I feel like you're teasing people for a future conversation is what you're trying to do, right?
Yep.
You have to be impactful enough that they want to know more. And there's a difference between me and you having the next 2 hours at the bar having a conversation about everything than having 30 seconds at a booth when somebody walks by and says, hey, how are you? What do you do? You don't have that luxury. And also you did get dusted.
I did, man. I own it, though. She crushed me. But I'd also like to say on that, though, realistically, sometimes you got that 2 hours in the bar, Sean, and how many times do you wish that person was done an hour, 45 minutes earlier, right? So this has even improved some of the bar conversation, because it's like, get to the point, hit them what they want, let them ask you the questions that they want to ask, and then get on with building up real relationships.
Agreed. I totally agree. And now coming back to Daniel here, Daniel, I mean, it goes without saying that you are very good at speaking. Like, you're articulate, you convey your message really well, which I told you in the beginning. So it's still the truth of the matter, right? But so it's hard to think, what could you have possibly learned during the last couple months? Like, what did you even improve on?
I most certainly need to be more succinct in what I say and blather less. And you just said it, trim the fat. What was the thing you called me out on this about 2 months ago when I was doing a pitch, which is you didn't get to the pain point quick enough. You should start with the pain point now. Always have that at the back of my mind as that big moment. I think, I missed it. So I've done that. But also we've been taught wonderful things about knowing what pitch for which type of MSP, which type of market, which OML that you're dealing with. And it's always the pitch should be quite appealing broadly, but you should be able to have the specific answer for the specific type of customer that you're dealing with, the specific type of MSP for their mentality. That's been a good one too.
Absolutely. I like how you acknowledge the OML, which is the operational maturity level, right? For people that don't know what that means, it does change the conversation to some degree, no matter what. Not much. I think the best line I ever hear from prospects is, we're different MSPs than normal, or vendors. We're different than other vendors, or we're different than other end users. They all say that, right? And yeah, they're all unique to some degree. There's some element of uniqueness, but by far and large, like you said, Daniel, there's a core conversation that takes place regardless. That's about 80 to 90% same every time. It's that 10% variance is the difference in how they do things. So going back to OML, even when you're addressing somebody that's very mature, that has a large staff, you're gonna have different stakeholders that you're talking to about specific things. That's when you draw down the conversations, whether it's an IT person or a CEO, right? Whereas a owner-led business, you're having all of it in one conversation essentially.
Yes,
so
yes.
has there been anything that you've learned that you've carried over that you find success with yet outside of us? Because obviously you're successful here, but if you talk to a client and use what your skills are and it's won something yet?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was originally beginning this whole product pitch at, we are an energy saving product but specifically will save you money. We will save you more money than we will charge you. That's been the pitch this whole time. But we've had advice from a few people who've been saying you've got to concentrate on the ESG, on the societal side, on the government side, the environmental side. And I thought that mattered to me, but wouldn't matter so much to others. So I went in with the money. But I've used this in some sales pitches because obviously, for another few months, I'm still with my MSP. So I've used this on some sales pitches saying this will help with your ISO 14001, 50001. This will help with corporate social responsibility, with press releases. And it's worked. It's worked brilliant. We've had one customer who didn't even care about saving money. They just wanted to be able to say they were doing everything they could to save energy and be green.
There's two types of green, right?
Yeah,
yes,
but,
sir.
But that was a high OML company, high maturity company.
Yeah,
that's the sort of thing that mattered to them for their corporate social responsibility. So
because they're already making the money, they're not trying to pinch pennies to survive.
Yeah.
But for them, when you're talking to a bigger company, what you said, like a press release, if they can say they've done this, it's the same reason why you look at the NFL over here, which is real football, Daniel, and they do the United Way stuff. That it's socially responsible of them to do it. Now, they may believe in it wholeheartedly, but even if they don't, it still looks great, and it's still a write-off, and it's still there. They look nice, they look good. And by the way, the NFL is a nonprofit too, which is crazy. But go ahead, Brian.
Sean just wanted us to acknowledge he's wearing a Steelers shirt today. And
I'm sorry.
Last night.
They had a big. They did have a big. I was at the game last night. Yes, they did. Whew, it was getting chilly out too. So, with Brian being your coach, how's it going? I mean, you guys are always complimenting each other, but like really, because Brian's like literally a driver, man. He would totally beat you down. He's just so tough. No, really, how'd it go? Daniel's like, what Brian is that?
Yeah. Oh man,
I need some of that, Gene.
Do I have to say it in front of him? Because he's been so great. He's been so great, so encouraging. I thought, you know what? I'll get someone helping me out and doing the best they can. But you just gone above and beyond, because the conversations we've been having, I thought, hey, we'll have a half-hour conversation. But we spend up, what was it, last night? We were talking for an hour and a half, and we went through the pitch a few times. We were talking about everything. And the advice has been top tier.
Well, that's part of it. Again, it drives back what IT Nation's really about from my perspective, which is building ecosystems, finding, those partners that are like you, that you can grow with, that you can lean on, and that you can share your experiences, whether it's around PitchIT or whether it's just around doing what we do, which is trying to find our way as new vendors.
Absolutely. And I think, Brian has always been good about the understanding of connecting the dots of people and technologies. And I guess which makes sense why you built a platform that actually connects the dots and people.
Connects with as many people as I can.
So have you guys found an integration piece for you guys as products now, or how to work together?
I have, but we haven't talked about it enough yet. I wanted to get Daniel through this part of it, but Daniel, obviously, a lot of his savings could be reflected in QBR dollars, and when you're looking at a QBR, he showcases that piece of the puzzle that I'm certainly not bringing in natively into our system, which is, hey, if you do this with what you got, could be some of your give back. And certainly for the MSP partner, if they're going to say to you, Sean, hey, we've got these 6 projects that are going to cost $50,000, but hey, we can offset $6,000 of it just by moving to, PC Powersave. That helps foster that conversation that the CFO wants to hear. So, I'm excited to see how we can get, Daniel's information into our platform. There's probably a couple ways we can approach that. And again, it's just good business for us to figure out how to get more value drivers for the MSP into our platform.
Yeah, and you know what? You've absolutely nailed it there. I've wanted to talk about integration. You've wanted to talk about integration. And I think we've both promised each other that we will after Orlando, after IT Nation Connect. Because right now, there's only one thing on my mind, and it's that.
And as far as Daniel being coachable, man, I mean, there's not much that has had to be done. I think, Daniel, we've really just more talked about the tactical and what to expect side versus, content. I mean, we've probably had a couple places where I'm like, hey, do this, and then you've set me right even in one of them. And but I think really it's been about timing. It's been about the things you've heard me say before, Sean. You got to have your timings. You got to know where you are in your pitch. That way, if you do get overwhelmed for a moment, where you can recover. And, if you know where that break point is at a minute and a half, at 3 minutes, at 4 minutes, and where you should be in your presentation, you can always make those adjustments so you can get your message across and stay under the wire. And that's probably been the biggest thing that you've worked on, Daniel, that I've enjoyed watching.
Yeah, I've enjoyed that too. It's been, I mean, you've given me more information than you imagine. Just being able to answer lots of little questions all over the place. I think it was it you who mentioned the QBR 11% stat, which is the percentage of businesses that regularly and reliably have the QBR. And most of my product pitch is aimed at the QBR, which I think is why we tie together so well. But I've had to alter it based upon your feedback, saying it's more than just a QBR. It's regular emails, regular just check-ins, just a little piece of information. Critical.
The QBR shouldn't be a one and done event. And, from my seat, it's always been, it's one step in the engagement highway and how you stay close to your customers. And for MSPs, the biggest problem they have when they're staying engaged with their customers is having something useful to say. I could call you up and go, "Hey, Sean, how you doing, buddy? Good? Cool. Things are good. Any problems with my guys? No? Okay, cool. Well, hey, thanks for the time." That's not a value driver, right? But if I can come in and go, "Hey, I was thinking about you and your power. I met this guy recently and wowed me because he showed me that there's money on your table that you could take tomorrow and just put straight down to your pocket."
Yep, that's spot. Well, QBR is not one and done. If you think of it, let's say that you weren't an MSP, you were actually the internal director of IT at a big company. You would have regular meetings. So you would literally be in the meetings, talk about what's going on, transpiring, whether it's weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever. You would still be involved in regular meetings with all the stakeholders. You should be treated exactly the same way.
Yeah, I can go into my pitch, but I've always felt fractional vCIO is something that people are missing the boat and not taking advantage of as another way to grow MRR. But that's a conversation for a different day. Today's about Daniel.
Yeah. Well, we can tie that together. You're absolutely right. If you do it correctly as a fractional, vCIO, if you're doing this, you're talking about the things that Daniel provides as a service anyway. And then, so I couldn't ask for a better pairing for coaching to contestant, because you're absolutely right. It blends right in, and to put Daniel with a cybersecurity person, not necessarily as the most important piece, but it's about the storytelling, be able to collaborate. Because actually, Daniel, same thing as Brian, you're both business solutions first.
Yeah, that's 100%. Yes, and we are a product designed to be brought up repeatedly at each QBR. It's essentially, we're almost a QBR enhancement tool. You turn up to a QBR and you say to the customer, "Look how much we've saved you this quarter." You give them some good news. And for that reason, QBRs have been in my pitch since day one. And that's why you're so right. It's a perfect pairing.
Yep. It's so spot on. And you guys are both pretty similar in your storytelling abilities.
I don't have as many good words as Daniel, though.
None of us do, Brian. None of us do. It's like literally reading a Harry Potter book.
I'll take it.
Yeah, you should, because last time we were interviewing, we were on your podcast, Brian, and he was using all these words. I'm like, my goodness, I sound like I'm a caveman.
Well, we are.
I know, right?
Let's just start with what he said earlier, and I don't want to gloss over this. He's been doing MSP work for 20 years, and he looks like that.
Yeah, it's a lie.
You can tell you and I have been doing this a long time, just because we wear the stress.
Yeah. And he's like, "Look how smooth my skin is. I look like I'm 20 years old.
I don't have a single gray." And
and I have long hair and a ponytail. I'm literally, whatever. Now you're making me angry, Brian.
Yeah,
Forget it.
I'm sorry, guys.
I'm sorry. I couldn't be alone on that one, because it's been sitting in my gut for a little bit.
Yeah, 20 years, Daniel, as an MSP.
Yeah, I started when I was in my
When you were
final
like
year of
10?
university. Final year uni. Should have seen the first couple of pitches.
You're in uni. I was hoping you were going to tell me final year at grade school.
Yeah, right?
Nah.
Yeah, he's graduating from kindergarten to first. Got it, yeah. So so 20 years ago, you graduated from college?
No, it was 20 years ago I set the company up. I did my final year whilst setting up the company at the same time.
Okay.
That was a nightmare.
Yeah,
it wasn't wisest move.
What got
Sean's
you
doing
in?
math right now. You can see the smoke coming out of his ears.
I know. Let me get my calculator. So what made you get into IT? Was that your major in school, or?
So actually, my degree was called simulation and virtual reality. And if I'd have not set up a company, my career would have taken me down roller coaster design. That was my plan. There's a lot of maths, a lot of calculations, and a lot of integration of electrical components with computer system and simulators and such. And that's
Huh.
what I really enjoyed at the time. But I got a job at a consultancy and realized what I was worth, and realized that I could help a lot of companies out, and I did. And that was just fantastic. That set me off going down that path. Maybe I'll go into roller coaster design one day, but not for now.
Nice. All right. So Brian, what got you into the MSP?
Accident. If I'm being completely honest, right? I came out of school with very little plans and still a lot of youth behind me, and I found my way into telecom sales actually originally. So when I got in there, I realized very quick I didn't like. And Sean, you go back to probably the early days of Equal Access with me as well. You'd sell a contract, and back then you could sell a 5-year contract because you're getting people off 35 cents a minute down to 11 cents, and that was good, not knowing it was going to be 3 cents 2 years later, right, and zero eventually. And but the problem I saw there was you could sell it once, you'd sell it, and then you had nothing else to sell these guys for 5 years. So now all you were doing was constant acquisition mode. So one of my friends was working at an IT consultancy, and he was a former AT&T-er who had went through one of the layoffs. He said, "You got to come over here. You actually get to sell a customer once and then, sell them again." And really, that's what brought me into IT, was the fact that it was, at the time a little bit more project-based, but it was a gift that kept giving. If you made a good customer relationship and you maintained that relationship, you'd continue to get work and business from them consistently. And that's where I transitioned into.
I went into the staffing aspect of it instead, because that was the only way you can keep selling, is by staffing them. Keep talking about new staff, IT staff constantly, and then do project work. And they could sign on. We would sign agreements based off of you can sign us on for project work, or we take on the liability and the cost, and pay us a bulk, or we'll give you the people to actually do whatever is trying to the next umpteen months of project work. And that was the best way for us to maintain a consistent relationship. Because otherwise, you're absolutely right. On-prem solutions were back to the trunk slamming days, which still exist at this point, but not really as much. You had nothing to talk about.
Yeah,
it was like, here's your box. See you never.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
Sean, you were in the VoIP world. You sell a system, they can make that system last 10 years, sometimes longer. I mean, some of those big PBXs, man, I'd go in and see the car batteries that were powering them 30 years later.
That's exactly. I was about to say. I mean, if you're in manufacturing, it's a 30-year investment for them, and they spend a lot of money on that up front. And it's funny how they talk about, well, I spent this much, I'm not going to do that again. I can't afford that. And you say, well, when did you buy that? Oh, 1985. Like, oh my God, we're well past that. Move on.
Yeah. So what you're saying is it cost you roughly $1,800 a year. Okay, gotcha.
Exactly. It's like, but they're like, no, that's a lot of money. I spent all this money. Like, no, come on, man. Time to get with the new stuff,
So I did some work a few years ago on this, something for the manufacturing industry, and we had to find a massively an exact duplicate motherboard so that their Windows 3.11 machine could continue to power their wire eroder. It was only about 6 years ago, Windows 3.11, and we looked inside and had all these custom bits of components made because the original machine had run on paper tape and valves. But because the machine still worked all those years later, why change the machine? Just change the computer. And we found that was the case in the manufacturing industry. They had a look at this long timeline. It was, quite fascinating.
Manufacturing is the worst at it. They are the worst at technology. You don't expect to make a move anytime soon because they're not.
Yeah, talk to all your MSP partners that are still supporting Windows 7 for CNC.
Exactly. Yes. All right. So now that we have a few minutes left in this all, and I want to make sure we address what's coming up here. IT Nation Connect, the PitchIT Finals. By the way, first ever sponsor of the finals, which is Lion Guard. They sponsored the finals. I know, right? Thank you, Michelle Cardi and team. First ones, Michelle Cardi's a big fan of all this. She loves watching it. I think one thing you find out when you're in the space and you're on stage with other people is they're used to slipping up too. So they love watching you guys slip up too and then get better. And not to put any pressure on you, Daniel, but last year after the finals were over, several of the bigger vendors that I'm friends with, their their CEOs and the channel chiefs and whatnot, they kind of said that like the 3 finalists put a clinic on pitching. They were like, these guys were so pristine and so good that everybody should be watching and paying attention. So
Daniel's ready.
Just
Interesting.
Isn't it though? I never thought about that, Daniel, until it was told to me afterwards. And like, no joke, 4 big vendors came to me and said, that was awesome. These guys the one guy said they put a clinic on today. People should pay attention to them just because of how they present, because presentation is 100% of everything at first until you get into the conversations.
Yeah.
So
I know what standards I've got to hit.
No, but I'll also say I think every new class like we did has the benefit now of this program being around long enough that we can go back and see the pitches of those that came before us. And it really does make things easier when you get to see something to model after than some of the early folks that were doing this that had to kind of create it from scratch.
Agreed. I agree. So with that, then, you're ready for next week, Daniel?
I'm ready now, but I'll be more ready every day until the moment comes. Must have given my pitch now 40, 50 times in the last couple of days, and well, there's still another week left. I can do another 200 pitches between now and then. So yeah, I'm ready, but I'm getting ready to be readier.
Getting ready to be readier. That's a fantastic line. It's like Nike, just do it. You're getting ready to be readier.
Yeah. He's got 6 hours in the air. That's enough time to pitch every person in the plane.
Dude, actually, pitch random people sit next to you, see if they understand it.
They can't leave.
Nope. No. Captive audience.
Like, you should stand up in the aisle and be like, hey, if there's monitors on the plane, literally say, can I hook up to those monitors? Can we talk about this?
Couldn't you see Daniel going, folks, I'm going to do this wee little PitchIT contest over in the States here. And I just want to know if you guys think I got the goods, and then launch into it. And they will actually let him do that.
Can you support one of your own as we travel across the pond?
Probably the only person out of the finalists I could see standing up and doing that. Well, maybe Zach.
You can pull some old school stuff like they beat us in the Revolutionary War, so we got to come back now and get them. This is my chance to take back what we belongs to us. Just saying. So, is there anything that we should look out for as far as for anything you're offering while at IT Nation Connect? Because you have a booth. Are you offering anything while you're there, Daniel, other than really cool swag?
Oh yes, there is really cool swag, of course. Yes, but there are 2 offers going on. One of them is a little bit of a competition. We're signing up people to give them demos and explain how the product works. And we got a little games console for one of them. Little games console, handheld thing. It's fantastic. I've got one myself. And the other one is we have a special offer on the pricing for early adopters. If people sign up as a result of the event, we will give them the first 1,000 licenses for a very good price.
Wow. Okay. And quickly, how much is an average monetary gain we'll go with on somebody who uses your product? Because there's a savings and there's also a revenue creation with it too.
Yeah. Okay. So the customer saves some money. They save like between $10 and $30 depending on a lot of stats on their machines. But what's the MSP going to make out of that? I'm charging $1 a month, and I want the MSP to charge $2 a month. And if you come see me at the stand, you'll pay less than $1 a month.
Nice. Perfect. That could be a lot of money real quickly for no work really done.
Yeah. Well, so and you get to be the hero for the customer as well. The customer comes to you and it's a no cost for the customer. They're saving more than it costs. So it should be the easiest sell in the world.
Right. If they're saving 30, you're charging $28 difference. They're doing fine.
Yeah. You got it.
Makes sense. Brian, what about you, man? What should we expect from you?
So we got a couple things going on. Book a demo, get a chance at an iPad. That's kind of the easy one if you stop by our booth. But with our product launch, and I wish I could share a little bit more here today, but you got to wait till November 4th. But we have a new offering that's coming out, and we're going to be giving a 50% discount on that for the first 100 signees. So we're really excited about where we're coming out there. More to come on that. Sorry for being evasive, but I'll get my hands.
That's fine. we're good with that. We're good with that. All right. Well, gentlemen, that's all we have for today. So again, those that are watching IT Nation Connect next week on the 6th at 2:30 Eastern Standard in Orlando is the PitchIT Finals. On the bottom of the screen, you'll see the banner going across the screen for the All Access Pass, $250 off if you would like to register using the code Central Mafia with the exclamation point at the end, of course. But $250 off of that registration pass, all access pass to everything. But again, 2:30 open bar starts for PitchIT. A few drinks in us. 3 o'clock starts the freaking competition, where you'll see Daniel on stage.
Crushing it.
Yes, and come see me at the booth as well afterwards.
Absolutely. We'll work on that call to action there, Daniel. Not here. One at a time.
Gotta
I'm
get him in the room
going to
first,
stay at
Daniel.
every chance I get. I'm saying that.
Perfect. Otherwise, that is all we have. Thank you, gentlemen, for getting involved. Brian, thank you for agreeing to be a coach this year again.
It's been great. Thank you.
Really enjoy working with you guys. I'm looking forward to next week, man.
It's gonna be a good week. It's gonna be fun.
We're talking like 8 days away. 8 days away. So yes, and thank you, Michelle Cardi and Linegar, for being involved and sponsoring us. Totally appreciate that, and looking forward to bigger and better things coming here, guys.